Have you ever felt like you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders? Like every decision you make could be the wrong one? Like you're running on empty, searching for answers in a world that only seems to give you more questions? Tonight, I want you to know something powerful. Jesus sees you. He knows your exhaustion. And He's left you an ancient treasure that speaks directly to the chaos you're feeling right now. It's called the Book of Proverbs, and it might just be the lifeline you've been desperately seeking. Let me paint a picture for you. It's 11:30 at night. You're lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, mind racing through tomorrow's obligations, last week's mistakes, next month's uncertainties. Your body is exhausted, but your mind won't shut off. You've tried everything. Self-help books, podcasts, therapy, meditation apps, even scrolling social media hoping something will click, but nothing fills that void. Nothing quiets that voice in your head that says, "You're not doing enough. You're not being enough. You're just not enough." This is burnout. And it's not just tiredness. It's a soul-deep weariness that makes you question everything you thought you knew about life, purpose, and meaning. Here's what most people don't tell you about burnout. It's not a weakness. It's actually a sign that you've been trying to carry things you were never meant to carry alone. You've been operating as if you're the source of your own wisdom, the architect of your own peace, the manufacturer of your own purpose. And friend, that's a weight no human being was designed to bear. But there's good news tonight. Really good news. God knew this would happen. He knew that in every generation, people would find themselves exactly where you are right now. Depleted, confused, desperate for direction. And that's precisely why He gave us the Book of Proverbs. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Proverbs? Isn't that just a collection of old sayings? Ancient? Advice that doesn't apply to modern life? Let me tell you something that might surprise you. Proverbs is the most practical, relevant, immediately applicable book in the entire Bible for someone dealing with burnout. And I'm going to show you exactly why. The Book of Proverbs contains 31 chapters of concentrated wisdom. Not theory, not philosophy. Wisdom. There's a difference. Philosophy asks big questions. Wisdom gives practical answers. And right now, in your state of exhaustion, you don't need more questions. You need answers that actually work. Let's start with understanding what's really happening when you're burnt out. Burnout doesn't happen overnight. It's the result of making thousands of small decisions without a reliable compass to guide you. Think about it. How many decisions did you make today? What to eat, what to wear, what to say, how to respond to that email, whether to take that meeting, how to handle that conflict, whether to speak up or stay silent, how to spend your money, how to use your time, who to trust, what to believe. The average person makes about 35,000 decisions every single day. 35,000. And here's the kicker. If you don't have a solid foundation of wisdom to draw from, every single one of those decisions becomes a potential source of anxiety and regret. That's exhausting. That's how you end up burnt out. This is where Proverbs becomes revolutionary. Solomon, the wisest man who ever lived according to Scripture, compiled these sayings specifically for people who need reliable guidance in an unreliable world. He understood something crucial. Wisdom isn't about being smart. It's about being aligned with the way God designed reality to work. Listen to how Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5 and 6 puts it. "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your paths straight." Read that again slowly. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, not with part of your heart, not when it's convenient, with all your heart. And here's the part that speaks directly to your burnout. Lean not on your own understanding. This is where most of us go wrong. We've been taught that the answer to every problem is to think harder, work harder, try harder. We lean heavily on our own understanding. We believe that if we just analyze enough, plan enough, strategize enough, we'll figure it out. And when that doesn't work, we don't question the approach. We just assume we need to try even harder. More analysis, more planning, more effort. That's the trap. That's the highway to burnout. Because here's the truth. You were never meant to figure everything out on your own. You were designed to walk in partnership with infinite wisdom. God's wisdom. And He's not stingy with it. He's eager to share it. He literally compiled an entire book of it and made it available to you right now, tonight, in this moment. Let's talk about what this looks like practically. Proverbs doesn't deal in abstractions. It deals in real life. Money problems? Proverbs has wisdom for that. Relationship conflicts? Proverbs addresses it. Work stress? Proverbs covers it. Decision paralysis? Proverbs gives you a framework. Anxiety about the future? Proverbs speaks to it directly. Take Proverbs 16, verse 3. Commit to the Lord whatever you do, and He will establish your plans. This isn't generic advice. This is a specific promise with a specific condition. Commit your actions to the Lord, and He will establish your plans. Not maybe. Not if you're lucky. He will establish them. But notice what comes first. Commitment. Not figuring everything out first. Not having the perfect plan. Commitment. This is radically different from how most of us operate. We want to have everything figured out before we commit. We want guarantees before we take steps. We want the entire staircase illuminated before we take the first step. God says, no. Commit first. Trust me first. Then I'll establish your plans. Then I'll make the path clear. This requires faith, yes. But here's what's beautiful. It removes the crushing burden of having to be omniscient. You don't have to see 10 steps ahead. You just have to see the next step and trust that God sees the entire journey. This is how Proverbs begins to heal burnout. It shifts the weight off your shoulders and back where it belongs. On God's shoulders. He's infinite. He's tireless. He's got this. You don't have to have this. You just have to stay connected to the one who does. Now let's address something specific that I know many of you are dealing with. The exhaustion that comes from toxic relationships and unhealthy boundaries. Burnout isn't just about work. Often, it's about people. Specifically, it's about giving energy to relationships that drain rather than replenish you. Proverbs has extensive wisdom about relationships. It talks about friendships, family dynamics, romantic relationships, business partnerships, and even how to deal with difficult people. And it doesn't sugarcoat things. It tells you plainly, some people are toxic, and you need to protect yourself from them. Proverbs 13, verse 20 says, "Walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm." This is direct. Your companions affect your outcomes. If you're walking with fools, people who make consistently foolish decisions, you will suffer harm. Not might suffer, will suffer. This gives you permission to evaluate your relationships honestly. Who are you walking with? Who has access to your time, your energy, your emotional bandwidth? Are they wise? Do they build you up or tear you down? Do they encourage you toward God or away from Him? These aren't cruel questions. They're survival questions. Burnout often happens because we're giving our best energy to people who don't value it, while neglecting the relationships that actually nourish our souls. Proverbs teaches us to be strategic about relationships. Not selfish, strategic. There's a difference. Selfish means you only care about yourself. Strategic means you recognize that your capacity is limited, so you invest it where it will bear the most fruit. Jesus Himself did this. He spent intensive time with 12 disciples, not with everyone who wanted His attention. He withdrew from crowds to pray. He set boundaries, and He was perfect. If Jesus needed boundaries, how much more do we? Here's another area where Proverbs speaks powerfully to burnout: the relationship between rest and productivity. Our culture has brainwashed us into believing that rest is earned, not needed. We think we have to justify rest by first being productive enough to deserve it. This is backwards and destructive. Proverbs shows us a different model. Look at Proverbs 6, verses 6 through 11, where it talks about the ant. The ant stores provisions in summer and gathers food at harvest. There's a rhythm here. Seasons of work and seasons of preparation. There's wisdom in knowing when to push and when to rest. The ant doesn't work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It works with the natural rhythms God built into creation. You were designed with rhythms too. Daily rhythms, weekly rhythms, seasonal rhythms. When you violate these rhythms consistently, your body and soul rebel. That rebellion is called burnout. It's not punishment, it's feedback. Your system is telling you something's wrong. God established a Sabbath rhythm from creation, 1 day and 7 for rest. Not because God is arbitrary or wants to restrict you, because He designed you to need it. When you consistently ignore the Sabbath principle, whether it's a literal day off or the broader principle of rest cycles, you're fighting against your own design, and you will lose that fight eventually. Proverbs also addresses something many burnt-out people struggle with: financial stress. Money problems create an enormous amount of anxiety and contribute significantly to burnout. And Proverbs has more to say about money and wealth than almost any other topic. Here's the core principle. God is the source of provision, not your job, not your investments, not your hustle. When you forget this, you start operating from a place of fear and scarcity. You start believing that your survival depends entirely on your efforts. That's a crushing burden. Proverbs 3, verses 9 and 10 say, "Honor the Lord with your wealth, with the first fruits of all your crops. Then your barns will be filled to overflowing, and your vats will brim over with new wine." This is about priority and trust. When you put God first with your finances, you're making a declaration: I trust you as my provider. I'm not operating from fear, I'm operating from faith. This doesn't mean irresponsibility. Proverbs repeatedly emphasizes hard work, planning, and wisdom with money. But it means your ultimate security is in God, not in your bank account. And that shift in perspective changes everything about how you approach work and money. When you know God is your provider, you can work hard without working anxiously. You can be diligent without being desperate. You can plan wisely without being consumed by worry, because your provision doesn't ultimately depend on you getting everything right. It depends on staying connected to the source. Let's talk about something else that contributes to burnout: unresolved anger and bitterness. Maybe there's someone who hurt you. Maybe there's an injustice you experienced. Maybe you're carrying resentment that's eating you alive from the inside. This stuff is heavy. It's exhausting to carry. Proverbs 14 verse 30 says, "A heart at peace gives life to the body, but envy rots the bones." Notice the physical impact of emotional and spiritual states. When your heart is at peace, it gives life to your body. But negative emotions, like envy, bitterness, and resentment, literally rot your bones. They destroy you from the inside out. Forgiveness isn't optional for people who want to avoid burnout. It's essential, not because the person who hurt you deserves it, but because you deserve freedom. You deserve peace. And you can't have peace while you're carrying the weight of unforgiveness. This is one of the most practical pieces of wisdom in Proverbs. Let it go. Not because it didn't matter, not because it wasn't wrong, but because carrying it is killing you. Give it to God. Let Him handle justice. Your job is to be free. Now, I want to address something important about the spiritual dimension of burnout. Often, what we call burnout is actually spiritual emptiness masquerading as exhaustion. You can sleep 12 hours and still wake up tired if your soul is depleted. Proverbs repeatedly points us back to the fear of the Lord as the beginning of wisdom. This phrase appears multiple times throughout the book. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. What does this mean? It doesn't mean being terrified of God. It means having a proper understanding of who God is and who you are in relation to Him. It means recognizing that He is infinite and you are finite. He is wise and you need wisdom. He is powerful and you are dependent. This isn't meant to diminish you. It's meant to free you. When you fear the Lord properly, you stop trying to be God. You stop putting impossible expectations on yourself. You stop believing that everything depends on you. You take your rightful place as a beloved child of an infinite Father, and you let Him carry what only He can carry. This is deeply restful, not because you become passive, but because you become properly active. You do your part, which is humanly possible, and you trust God to do His part, which requires divine power. Here's what this looks like practically in Proverbs. When you need wisdom for a decision, you pray and ask God for it. Then you move forward with the best wisdom you have, trusting that God will redirect you if needed. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be omniscient. You just have to be faithful with what you know right now. Proverbs 3, verse 6 says, "In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your paths straight." Notice the promise. He will make your paths straight. Not you, Him. Your job is submission. His job is direction. When you try to do His job and yours, you burn out. When you stick to your job and let Him do His, you find rest. Let me tell you something powerful about the gospel that connects to everything we're discussing. The gospel isn't just about forgiveness of sins. It's also about rest. Jesus said, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you, and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light." This is the heart of FUS, Christianity. Jesus offers rest, not someday in heaven, though that's coming too, but right now, today, in the middle of your mess, in the chaos of your circumstances. He offers rest for your soul. The wisdom of Proverbs flows from this gospel foundation. It's not just good advice for successful living. It's divine wisdom for walking in partnership with God through every aspect of life. And when you walk with God, you find rest even in the storm. Here's something practical you can do starting tonight. Start reading Proverbs 1 chapter a day. There are 31 chapters, so you can read 1 chapter for each day of the month. This isn't magical, but it's powerful because you're feeding your soul with divine wisdom daily. As you read, ask God to show you what applies to your life right now. What decision do you need wisdom for? What relationship needs attention? What pattern needs to change? The Holy Spirit will highlight what you need when you need it. Write down verses that speak to you. Memorize them. Pray them back to God. Let this wisdom sink deep into your soul until it becomes your default way of thinking. This is how transformation happens, not through trying harder, but through renewing your mind with truth. I also want you to understand something about the process of recovering from burnout. It took time to get here. It will take time to heal. Be patient with yourself. God is patient with you. He's not expecting you to fix everything overnight. He's inviting you into a journey of transformation. Some practical steps. Identify what led to burnout. Was it overcommitment, poor boundaries, financial stress, relationship problems, spiritual emptiness? Be honest. You can't fix what you won't acknowledge. Second, make changes. Not all at once, but start somewhere. If you need to set boundaries with someone, do it. If you need to adjust your schedule, do it. If you need to prioritize rest, do it. Small changes compound over time. Third, get support. Talk to trusted friends. Find a counselor if needed. Join a church community where you can be known and cared for. You were designed for community. Isolation intensifies burnout. Connection facilitates healing. Fourth, prioritize spiritual practices. Prayer, reading, scripture, worship, rest. These aren't optional extras. They're how you stay connected to your source of life and wisdom. And fifth, give yourself grace. You're going to have bad days. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to struggle. That's okay. God's mercies are new every morning. Each day is a fresh start. The wisdom of Proverbs teaches us that life is a journey of learning and growing. Even Solomon, the wisest man who ever lived, was constantly learning. Wisdom isn't a destination you arrive at. It's a relationship you cultivate with God throughout your life. Every day brings new opportunities to apply divine wisdom. Every challenge is an opportunity to trust God more deeply. Every mistake is an opportunity to learn and grow. This perspective transforms burnout from a dead end into a doorway to deeper relationship with God, a doorway to discovering who you really are and what you're really meant to do. Here's the beautiful truth I want you to grasp tonight. Jesus knows your burnout. He experienced exhaustion himself during his earthly ministry. He had compassion on the crowds because they were harassed and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. That's how he sees you right now, not with judgment, with compassion. He doesn't condemn you for being tired. He invites you to rest. He doesn't criticize you for struggling. He offers you his strength. He doesn't shame you for not having it all together. He offers you his wisdom freely. The book of Proverbs is a gift from a loving father to his children who need guidance. It's practical wisdom for real life. And when you combine it with the gospel, with the good news that Jesus has done what you could never do, has paid the price you could never pay, and offers you relationship with God not based on your performance but on his grace, everything changes. You don't have to earn God's love. You don't have to prove your worth. You don't have to fix yourself before you can come to him. You can come as you are, burnt out and broken, and he will meet you there. He will give you rest. He will give you wisdom. He will give you strength for the journey. Tonight, right now, you can make a decision. You can decide to stop carrying what you were never meant to carry. You can decide to trust God with your life, your decisions, your future. You can decide to seek wisdom from the source of all wisdom. You can decide to walk in partnership with God rather than trying to figure everything out on your own. This is what it means to fear the Lord. This is what it means to walk in wisdom. This is how you recover from burnout and discover the life God designed you to live. A life of purpose, a life of peace, a life of partnership with the infinite God who loves you beyond measure. The book of Proverbs is waiting for you. The wisdom you need is available. God is eager to give it to you. All you have to do is ask, seek, and knock. And he promises the door will be opened. May you find rest tonight. May you discover the wisdom that brings peace. May you experience the love of God that casts out fear and fills you with hope. And may you walk forward from this moment, not in your own strength, but in the strength of the one who created you, loves you, and has a good plan for your life. Rest well, friend. Jesus knows. And he's got you.